to the Bible Sense, where we explore timeless wisdom for modern living. If you like what you hear, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon.
So, when you think about the spiritual world of the Bible, what usually comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's kind of this static idea of heaven, with God being really, really far away. But what if I told you the biblical authors saw something totally different? A bustling, active, heavenly realm, way more like a royal court, with a full-on divine staff team. Let's get into this, because honestly, it might just change the way you read the entire Bible. And we're going to start right here with Psalm 82, verse 1. It says, God presides in the great assembly. He renders judgment among the gods. Yeah, plural. This is one of those verses that just stops you in your tracks. Now, an ancient Israelite, they wouldn't have batted an eye. But for us, it kicks up a huge question.
Exactly. You're probably thinking, wait a minute, gods, plural, in the Bible? What is going on here in a book that's supposed to be all about one God? Well, to unpack that, we've got to get on the same page with some of the key terminology.
So our first stop is to figure out who's who in this cosmic drama. And the word we absolutely have to understand is the Hebrew word that gets translated as either God or gods. That word is Elohim. Now here's the most important thing to get about this word. Elohim is not a personal name. It's a title. It's more of a category. It basically refers to any being that lives in the spiritual, non-physical world. Think of it like a description of where you're from, the spiritual realm, not who you are.
And you can see just how broad this category is. The Bible uses the word Elohim to refer to Yahweh, the one true God, of course. But get this, it uses the exact same word for angels, for the pagan gods the nations worshipped, which the Bible treats as real spiritual beings, for demons, and even for the spirit of the prophet Samuel when he's called up from the dead. If you're a disembodied spirit, you're an Elohim. Simple as that. Okay, so now that we've got that word down, we can take a look at the original blueprint for creation. Because right from the beginning, God's whole plan was about partnership. You see, God created two families to be his partners, his representatives. He had his divine family, the Elohim, sometimes called the sons of God, and his human family. The whole idea was for them to work together, to co-rule over these two interconnected realms, the heavens and the earth. That was the dream, the perfect harmony God wanted.
And let's be really clear about something. God didn't create this council of Elohim because he was lonely or because he needed help. He's God. He's all-powerful. No, he did it because he's a relational being who genuinely desires to share his rule, to work with and through the partners he creates. It was a choice that came from love, not from any kind of need.
But as you can probably guess, that beautiful partnership didn't last. A series of rebellions, both in the heavens and on earth, kicked off this epic story of cosmic betrayal. Now, to really get this rebellion, we need to zoom in on another term, ha-Satan. And notice that little ha at the beginning? In Hebrew, that just means the, and you don't put the in front of a proper name, right? You wouldn't say the Steve. This is a huge clue that Satan isn't a name, it's a title. It means the adversary or the challenger. It was a job description, a role on the council, kind of like a heavenly prosecutor whose job was to test people's loyalty. And this adversarial role, well, it gets corrupted. And it leads to this terrible sequence of rebellions. First, in Eden, a member of the council, the serpent, goes rogue and acts as an adversary against God, tempting humans into their own rebellion. Then, things escalate in Genesis 6, when other sons of God break the rules and cross boundaries they weren't supposed to, leading to massive corruption. And the final straw? The Tower of Babel, where all of humanity basically gets together and says, yeah, thanks God, but we'll take it from here. This massive rebellion led to a really critical judgment. God, in a way, just gave humanity what they asked for. He disinherited the nations, he stepped back and placed them under the authority of other members of his council, these lesser Elohim who had already shown they were corrupt. And this one act, this is what sets the stage for all the cosmic conflict and spiritual warfare we read about in the rest of the Bible. But that judgment wasn't the end of the story. Not even close. In fact, all of that was just the setup for the grand finale. The arrival of Jesus, who came to take back the nations and completely reverse the curse of Babel. And this brings us right back to Psalm 82. See, God isn't just holding a meeting in his assembly. He's passing sentence. He's looking at these corrupt, rebellious Elohim who were ruling the nations, and he says, I gave you authority, you called yourselves gods, but you blew it. So now, you're going to die like mortals. Your little reign is over. And having this backstory completely changes how we read Jesus' temptation in the wilderness. When the chief adversary offers Jesus all the kingdoms of the world, he says it's his to give because it has been handed over to me. Now, here's the crazy part. He's not entirely lying. He's claiming the authority that was delegated to those lesser Elohim back at Babel. His mistake wasn't claiming he had it. His mistake was thinking it was his to give away.
And now listen to Jesus' stunning comeback after his resurrection. It's the ultimate mic drop. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Not to the adversary, not to the rebellious council members, to Jesus. This is it. This is the great reversal. The nations that were disinherited are now being reclaimed by their one true king. So, what does this ancient cosmic story have to do with you and me today? Oh, it has everything to do with us. Because this story isn't just about the past. It's about you finding your place in God's counsel.
You see, because of Jesus' victory, a whole new family is being created. Anyone who puts their trust in him gets adopted into God's own family. They're given the status that humanity was always supposed to have, the very status that the rebellious spiritual beings threw away, becoming spiritual sons and daughters of the Most High God. So just stop and think for a second what this actually means. It means believers in Jesus literally become God's new counsel on earth. We are the ones who get to fulfill that original plan from Eden, to partner with God in ruling and caring for his world. We're promised an inheritance and authority over the very nations that were given away at Babel. We are made co-rulers with Christ, restoring God's original, beautiful design for all of humanity. And so all of that leaves us with this one final massive thought to chew on. If this story is true, if you, as a believer, are now part of God's counsel here on earth, tasked with representing his loving rule to the nations, how does that change the way you see your purpose in the world? What does it actually look like to rule with him right here and right now?
Thanks for watching the Bible Sense channel, making Bible sense of the scriptures line upon line, precept upon precept. Like and subscribe for more.